everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Alyssa Reynolds, and this is another video in my series about channeling spirit. So, last few times have been about building belief, about pathworking, about active listening, about spiritual creativity, about grounding, and today is all about one of the most popular and I wouldn't say most useful tools out there, because there's a whole range of different tools and they all have their own uses, but it's definitely one that is the step right before sensing energy and really tuning into what are you hearing, what are you feeling, what images are you getting. So the actual channeling of spirit in the way that I do it in many of my other videos. And so this step in this practice is using tarot or oracle cards. So I know there are millions and millions of videos out there, not only about how to use tarot and oracle cards, but also so many videos about readings, whether it's readings applied to the different sun signs or the moon signs, or if it's applied to different times of the month, or whatever the case. So many readings out there using these different cards and how to use them. So what am I talking about today? I am talking about a different way of using them. That does not mean needing to go and research what certain symbols on the tarot cards mean, or using the books that come with the oracle cards, because as these are a tool that are the step you take before channeling spirit, full up in the way that you guys have all regularly seen me channeling spirit. I want to talk about using oracle and tarot cards with your intuition and reading with your intuition. So that is tapping into your inner well of knowing, because you've got everything that you need already within you. So you don't need the books that come with the oracle decks. You don't need to know what every single tarot card traditionally means. You don't have to know that stuff. Yes, if you want to know that stuff and you want to use that stuff, awesome. But what I want to talk about is not using that stuff, ignoring that stuff, so that you can use these cards as a stepping stone for channeling spirit. Just feeling as you're running your hands above those cards, whether you are getting a sense of heat, of cold, you're feeling maybe a finger getting pulled down toward one, maybe you're getting tingling. There's all sorts of different things that you may feel, and for every single person it's very different. So that's why I recommend fanning the cards out in front of you, so that you can just begin to feel how it feels as you run your hand slowly just above those cards and tune into what your body is doing. You also might feel like a full body pull toward a particular card, or you might, in your mind, get a number, get 2, 3, or maybe a word of that one or that one. Or you might get the visual of the top of the particular card and just know, okay, it's that one. Whatever you're getting, just practice running your hand along the top and just tuning into what you're feeling, so that you get a sense of how you are interacting with the deck, how the deck is interacting with you. And then, whichever card you are feeling pulled toward, just pick it. Remember, ego goes in the back seat whenever you are working with spirit, and just go with whatever you picked first. If it is slightly off for whatever reason, spirit is always going to find a way to redirect you. They will find a way to get the message to you. So whatever card you feel like you are getting pulled toward, pick that card. Don't second guess. And then, for however many cards you pick, could be 1, could be 2, could be 3. I usually only am picking 1. Sometimes I'll pick 3. That's about the max. When I was first starting out, I was often picking 5 or 8 because Spirit had a ton of information they were trying to get at me, and they were connecting with me through the cards, so they were giving me a ton of cards. Now it's not very many because I very, very rarely actually pull any cards. So however many you pick, it doesn't matter. That's also just down to whatever is resonating in the moment, whatever you're feeling pulled to pick it. All right, so that was picking a deck and pulling the cards. Now you've pulled your cards, and how do you read the cards? Well, as I said, since you're doing all of this by listening to your intuition, by going with what resonates, then when you're reading the cards, it is the same sort of thing. So, I'm gonna just grab a random card off the top of the deck here. All right. And say you picked this card. All right, so this card it says the moon, and this is a little bit of what it looks like. All right, I'm gonna just put it aside for a moment. So you have pulled your cards, you've flipped them around, and you now see what they look like. Pick up your first card if you picked up multiples, or just pick up the single card if you only picked up 1. And then I want you to just take note of what is in the card at first. So in the card that I showed you, the moon card, we have a moon on the top. There's a lot of yellow and gray. There's a woman with a mask. There is a fairy. There are mushrooms. There are trees in the background. And she is also holding a chalice with a red liquid in it. All right, so that's a quick rundown of what's in the card. Okay, and when you've done that, then start tuning into how is this card making you feel? How are certain things in the card making you feel? What emotions are you feeling as you look at this card? So for me, with this card, I feel a lot of magic. I feel curiosity. I feel kind of this deep sleepiness, like really, really going down deep within myself, of connecting to a deep well of things that have been hidden, of shining a light on the things that have been hidden, of finding many, many different facets of things deep within that well. So different skills, different abilities, different ideas deep within that well. All right, so that was on this card here. So from that, I was just tuning into what emotions and feelings I was getting from both those colors and those images. And drawing just on some of my personal experience, I'm always really, really drawn to the moon. It's been something that I've really resonated with personally. So surprise, surprise, it's the first one on the top of my deck. That is spirit for you. Always spirit. Making you pick the card that you need in the moment. So, as you're doing that, you're just kind of getting a general sense of the emotions. And then you may go a step deeper and start thinking about, what do some of those things in the picture mean to you? So, again, as I said, the moon has some personal meaning to me. It's something I've always been drawn to. There's also a mask in this card's picture as well. And I have personally had a lot of struggles that I worked with and I overcame that had to do with masks, the wearing of masks, the different types of personas that we all put on throughout our lifetime, throughout our day-to-day, our different identities, the different labels that we work with and we wear. That's been a central theme to a lot of things that I've had to work through in my life so far. So that is something in this card that personally I really am drawn to. You may find yourself drawn to something different. You may find yourself more drawn toward the illumination that is in there. And then whatever you're feeling drawn to as you dig deeper into, okay, of these emotions and these things that I'm seeing in this card, whatever I'm drawn to in this moment, how can it be applied to right now for what I am doing right now or what I'm experiencing right now? Now, if you're a person who was really drawn to the illumination in this card, it could be that you need to shine a light on something in your life. You need to focus on something a little bit more, or you have not been focusing on something and you need to dig deep within yourself and pull it out and bring it into the light and take something that's been hidden and see it and experience it and show it off, okay? Or face it. Instead of hiding behind that mask, face the thing that you've been hiding. So that's kind of just some general stuff for if you were feeling drawn to the illumination. For me and the mask that I've really been drawn to in this moment, it's really applied to what I've been going through over the past few months, which has very much been a lot of rebranding with the fact that, well, all of you know, I have many, many different interests and a lot of different skills, a lot of things that I'm very passionate about. And I've been reconciling, how do I bring all of those things together so that I'm not flip-flopping between all these different identities, but I can link them together, bring them together. So for me, it is a reminder that I don't need to try to just wear one at a time, but I need to keep working on bringing them together and being okay with bringing them together, despite the fact that, yes, in society, people tend to focus on one thing at a time. I'm not a person like that. I'm somebody who is very all-encompassing, and it's reminding me to keep working on digging deep. So yeah, I still have a lot of work to do with digging a little bit deeper and finding the thread that is connecting all of the different facets of myself together. So that's a little bit about just off this card that I literally pulled off the top of the deck as to what I can draw in this moment from this card. And again, you would have drawn something totally different. And for whatever card or cards that you're pulling from whatever deck you are using, you will be pulling something different in each moment. You'll also notice with these cards that when you're working from a place of intuition, that it's a lot easier to work your way through what does this card mean for me in the moment, instead of just going off the stock description that is in like an oracle card deck, for example, and then trying to take that really general concept and figure out, okay, what aspect of my whole life is this actually focusing on? I've just found personally from working with clients that it's easier to walk your way through to the exact thing that the card is applying to when you're going from what are you being drawn to in the moment, what emotions are you getting in this moment, and then being able to dig deeper there, rather than going from something really big and broad and trying to narrow it down. Although, again, you could be totally different and perhaps you work better with going from something really broad into the narrow. I am not saying that there's a right or wrong way of doing any of this. I wanted to simply introduce the way of reading cards with intuition instead of relying on the books and trying to memorize all the symbolism. That is not needed. And so, since this video is all about oracle cards and tarot cards, I wanted to finish off with sharing a message for all of you from my favorite deck of tarot cards. And as I'm picking these cards, I'm specifically thinking about picking cards that are relaying the message about intuition that I want all of you to be focusing on, that spirit wants all of you to be focusing on. Really. So that's the other part to reading with cards, is as you're picking your cards, you may have in your mind a specific question and play around with it, because sometimes having a very specific question that's very yes and no doesn't work very well with cards. It's often better to think in very general concepts, but not too general. So don't be asking questions like, what should I avoid next week? Or, when is love going to happen in my life? Avoid those questions, okay, and make them a little bit more specific. So today I am thinking about, what message do all of you need right now in regards to working with your intuition? All right. So, definitely 3 cards today. Magic number 3. And you'll also probably, if you've gotten into cards, notice that there's always a lot of different spreads, and each card that's pulled is pulled for a particular location, and each location in that spread means a different thing. And that's a whole other sphere of reading your oracle and tarot cards that's absolutely valid. And actually, when I was first starting out, it was an area that I was really passionate about and I loved, and I found did help with being able to focus in on the area that every card was meant to focus upon. So, for example, often 3 card spreads are focusing in on how you have been, how you were, and how you will be. That's a really basic kind of spread. And then just knowing that in the back of your mind can often help if you're just starting out and you're finding the intuition to be too big, too broad, that then having the bracket of, okay, this card is focusing on the past. Then as you're pinning down your emotions and the things that you're reading off of the card, it can help then focus it toward, okay, so that's how I was in the past, this is where I'm currently at, and this is where I'm going. Although, again, I wouldn't recommend relying on that or getting too focused on that, because that is more in the sphere of the people who resonate the most with learning all of the symbols and the meanings and the messages that different cards have in terms of the collective unconscious, which is absolutely another valid way of reading, but my way is about intuition. But I did just want to mention that because it does often come up if you're somebody who's done some research into reading cards. So the first card that I pulled for everyone today is wonderfully fitting because it is the Magician. And that is where all of you are. That is who all of you are. All of you are creators. As I've said in my past videos, you are creative beings. You have everything that you need already within you. It is there. And you are now, because you're getting curious enough to be here right now watching this video, and I'm sure many other videos, that you are starting to tap into it. You're starting to pull from that well of inner magic, that well of inner knowing that you have. And it is time for you to start acting on it. Okay. It is time for you to start acknowledging it and working with it and playing with it and seeing all the different facets that it can help support you with in your life. And as you're doing this, as you're playing with it, as you're exploring, as you're growing in knowing what is within you, you also are doing a lot of self-reflection, and that is the Page of Cups here. So this wonderful, wonderful card. As you're playing a lot, you're getting active, you're doing, you're learning. You also need to take time to yourself, to go within yourself and just sit with yourself, get to know yourself, reflect upon yourself, whether this is through meditation, through journaling, both of those things, or grounding, like I was talking about in the last video, about taking walks in nature, about listening to music actively and picking it apart, and then doing the same with the energy that is within you and around you. Taking time to just be still, even. And not thinking about, I am being still so that I can meditate, or I am being still so that I can tune into the energy. Just sitting. So go plant yourself outside and just be in that moment. As much as you're also digging deep within yourself and looking at where you've been, who you are, how you got to where you are, and where you're going, where you want to go, and getting excited about where you're wanting to go. So drawing in that Magician again as well. And both the Magician and the Page of Cups work hand in hand. As you explore and you learn, take time to reflect. And this all builds into the third card here, which is the wonderful High Priestess. And you are learning so much as you tap into what you have within you. That creative being that you are is a knowledgeable being, is a wise being. And as you're playing and exploring and learning and reflecting, be aware that everything you are doing is teaching others. You are an example to others. You may not feel it, yet, because you may just be a little bit curious, or you may be more than curious. You may have really delved into meditation and connecting with spirit and changing up your diet and grounding a lot and connecting with others who are spiritual. Wherever you're at, you're a teacher. You are a guide. Be aware that whatever you are putting out there, you are putting it out there and someone else is connecting with it. So be proud of that too. Wherever you are at, whatever you are doing, you are teaching others. You are a light worker. So with that, my wonderful light workers, my wonderful creative beings, I wish all of you a beautiful rest of your day. So much love and light. Have fun exploring and playing with your cards. I'd love to hear down in the comments below how your explorations are going and the decks that maybe you were using. And I will see you next week. So love and light, and goodbye for now.